and welcome to our panel today on integrated resorts and their impact on the economy. Ras Al Khaimah is leading the change when it comes to developing exciting new tourism products in our region. The recent announcement of the Wynn integrated resort at Marjan Island is further testament to this. I'm delighted to be joined by key stakeholders in this ambitious project to discuss our integrated resort topic today. Without any further ado, I'd like to welcome our panelists on stage. Everyone, please give them a warm welcome. Alison, Grinnell, CEO, RAC Hospitality Holding. Abdullah, AlAbdouli, CEO, Marjan. All the way from the United States, Chris Gordon, President of Wynn Development. Chris is going to kickstart our discussion with a short presentation on the integrated resorts concept, business model, and a bit on the Wynn story. I hope everyone enjoys our panel, and over to Chris.
Perfect. Thank you, James, and thank you for having us. I thought I would briefly tell you a bit about Wynn Resorts because a lot of you may not know who we are. And since we're going to be joining your region very quickly, we want to show you a little bit about it. Generally, we are around the world. Primarily, we're very big in China. We're very big in the U.S. If you read in the paper this week, we just announced another one in the U.S., and we're thrilled to be here in the UAE. If you look at the map of the world, it really puts us within close proximity to many, many more of what we think will be our customers. Right now, we have 6 resorts around the world in 4 locations. We're very big in Las Vegas. That was our first property under the Wynn name. We have about 12.6 million visitors that come there every year. It's an incredibly busy facility, and it's our mothership, if you will. It also, which I think is important for this region, it's the top non-gaming producer in the world, meaning the revenue we have casinos there, but the non-gaming revenue there is the largest amount of anywhere in the world, and it also has the largest net revenue in Las Vegas. So if you know the competitors in Las Vegas who are fantastic, we tend to make more revenue than anyone else. We also have the Wynn and the Encore in Macau. As you know, Macau is the region of China where they have about 7 times the amount of gaming that goes on in Las Vegas. Very big hospitality region. We have about 13 million visitors there, and we also have the only quadruple 5-star resort, and that, of course, is a 5-star. By the way, all of our resorts are 5-star resorts. We tend to be at the upper end of the market. We tend to try to cater to that end of the world, which we'll talk a bit about for Ras Al Khaimah. We also have the Palace next door in Cotai. That's about 8 million visitors a year, which is another very large-scale resort. Most of these have thousands of hotel rooms. The largest one has 4,700 hotel rooms. And then most recently, we just opened up Encore Boston Harbor in Boston. That was an experiment to put a resort in an urban area, a little slightly different model, and it has been wildly successful. It continues to break records every weekend. It is just booming, and we learned a lot on that one. So we're very, very happy about the Boston property. What are in our casinos and our resorts? First of all, believe it or not, a very small percentage of the building is actually gaming. It's usually less than 10%. Oftentimes, it's less than 5%. More important, we have significant hotels. We have thousands of hotel rooms around the world. They tend to be the luxury rooms. They tend to be suites. They tend to be villas. For example, in China, we have a very large portfolio of villas where families come, large groups come, they stay a long time, and we certainly want to do the same thing here in Ras Al Khaimah. Dining and lounges, we also have a significant number of restaurants. We tend to develop our own brands. We tend to operate our own brands. So we very seldom will have a name you've heard of in the facility, which sounds counterintuitive, but we prefer it that way. We generate our own restaurant brands, bring in our own chefs, create our own menus, and we run most of them, almost all of them, we run ourselves as our own branded product. Spa and salon. One of the best parts of our business are very high-end spas, and you'll see that here in the UAE, certainly in Ras Al Khaimah. These are spas that have day-long experiences, week-long experiences, and they're incredibly popular with our customers that bring them back and back over time. And also, we've started to tie it in much more into a wellness theme. So it's not just a spa where you go and get certain treatment. It's actually as part of a much more aggressive wellness program. Entertainment, we have a tremendous amount of entertainment. We normally have theaters in our resorts. We also have what we call entertainment everywhere. You may turn a corner and there's a piece of animated artwork. You may see a little show at your dinner. You may have a small theater. You may have a large theater. But we tend to have a variety of entertainment throughout the property. The intent is to be fun, right? You're not going to a library or a hospital, you're going to a resort. So we try to make every square inch fun, colorful, artistic, which is something we really, really work on. Nightlife, we have the largest nightclub in America, the second largest nightclub in America. We have nightclubs all over the place. We'll do something slightly different here, but still an evening and daytime entertainment theme. And these are a key part of the integrated resort. The word integrated resort, by the way, really means on the property, you can do a lot of different things all in one day, all in one weekend. So we try to make it very easy to move around the property, go to dinner, go to a show, go to the spa, in this case, go to the beach. So a lot of things to do on one property. Even before we were called Wynn, we had previous companies that developed other properties. So going way back to 1985, one of the things we're most proud of is we've sort of been credited with creating more revenue outside of the casino than any other hotel. So this shows in Las Vegas the growth of non-gaming revenue across these years. The reason this is important is if you go to one of our resorts, again, a small portion of the building might be gaming, most of the building is something else, and we really push hard to make sure that everything else is doing well, is successful. We're very proud of the employment. I mean, most of our resorts we've got 32,000 employees around the world. A typical resort will have 5,000, 6,000 employees, and a lot of that is based on some of the non-gaming efforts that we put forward. Same thing in RAC. I mean, we haven't put final numbers on it yet, but we'll have, north of 5,000 employees from scratch, so we're very excited about that opportunity. This is a graph that shows a bit more where the revenue comes from, but the big issue here is it's a very diversified resort. So all these have different functions, different business lines that are integrated around the world. Again, not to brag, but to introduce ourselves to the market. We're very proud of some of the recognition we've received. I mean, we're normally ranked at the top of the pack in the markets we're in. We usually get #1 hotel, #1 resort, #1 gaming facility. And again, I don't mean to sound like we're just here to brag, but it is the effort we try to pursue. We try to create a resort that will be the highest ranking, which is exactly why we picked the UAE. We think this market has some fantastic properties. We think our properties will fit in, and so we're very excited about that. Another issue which is big to us, and this isn't a fad that somebody said, you should go green. We are one of the greenest companies in the U.S. and quickly becoming one of the greener companies in China, and we want to do the same thing here. When I say green, we focus on everything you can think of, everything from the water use, recycling, all that. The big area we've found the ability to make a difference is energy. Our facilities are run almost exclusively on green power. In Las Vegas, we own a massive solar farm out in the desert that powers our resort. In Boston, we have a microgrid, we have battery farms, we have windmills, we have solar. We have a huge portfolio of tricks that we use to try to reduce the amount of power, and it's working. So we've set some very ambitious goals on things like net zero, carbon dioxide emissions, renewable energy. We'll far exceed these. We already are. But what we do here will be equally, if not more, green going forward. So we think that's a critical part of what we do as a company. This is a little bit more of some of the awards we've won recently. You can see some of the statistics on, LEED certifications, amount of renewable energy. So we're starting to be recognized as a very environmentally friendly company, which in the old days, if you think about resorts, casinos, theaters, nightclubs, they were considered not at all in any way environmentally friendly. They were considered energy hogs. They were considered sort of bad for the planet. We think we're reversing that, and we think we can show that our resorts can be more energy friendly than pretty much anything else out there. Another huge commitment for the company, and this goes all the way back to our founder, is a commitment to employees. Everybody says this, but we think we can demonstrate a track record. Many of our employees never leave the company. They come, they enjoy it, they're trained, they're promoted, they have a career, not just a job, they have a career. And in hospitality, that can be a challenge because some of these jobs are seen as stepping stones or seen as temporary. We don't see them that way at all. In cities where we operate, we set up schools where we train people for the hospitality business. We partner with universities. We partner with all sorts of groups to develop a workforce. And many of our employees, I would say most of our employees, stay for their entire career. We also try to build that loyalty by things like during the pandemic, most of our employees our resorts were closed. We paid every employee every day they were out. So no matter where they were, we paid every employee all their salary, all their benefits, all their tips, everything. During the crash in 08, 09, same thing. We paid every employee to stay whether they were working or not. And when you compare that to some of the competitors, after the pandemic, our employees charged back into work. They couldn't wait to get in there and do their job. We didn't lose anybody, so we're happy about that. We also have aggressive training programs and all sorts of things to keep the employees very engaged. Finally, I won't read this, but you can see it for yourself. We do live by core values. We're not just to open the door and wish for the best. Just to look at the four. Service driven. I mean, we'll compare our customer service to anybody in the world. We talk about it all day. We talk about it before every shift. We talk about it in every communication. Employees first, and customers first. It's a very big focus for service driven. Excellence, again, not to brag, but we try really hard to make sure that whether it be a performance, a nightclub, a waitress, whatever it's going to be, we really want them to be excellent at what they do. And that's not easy when you've got 32,000 employees to make every single one of them think about excellence. Artistry, soon, not today, soon we want to start rolling out our design, and some of our designers are here today. We really think that what we're going to do in RAC will be artistic. Not just nice, lovely, but actually truly artistic. We also, inside the building, we have one of the largest art collections in the world. Everything, carpets, tapestries, walls, ceilings, all hand done for us. So you'll see that the buildings are really a piece of art. So we want to make sure we do that here. Finally, progressive, whether it be environmentally, whether it be our workforce, whether it be some of the other creative things we do. We need to be on the cutting edge, otherwise we get stale. We become just an old hotel company, which we don't want to do. So we're always trying to push the envelope, drive people crazy, but we're always trying to get to that next level. So we're looking forward to doing that here. So that's just a quick overview. We're happy to answer questions, but I wanted to quickly introduce us to the market.
Chris, thanks for that brilliant introduction. I think it's really set the scene and hopefully announce yourselves to the market here today. Obviously, there's a lot of industry leaders here in the conference, and I'm sure they're delighted to find out a bit more about your company. Abdullah, just for yourself, from the Marjan side, can you take us back? Like, what is the background and the roadmap you had in deciding to develop an integrated resort on Marjan and in Ras Al Khaimah?
When we started looking at the concept of integrated resort, I think we started looking that something will really help the tourism industry in the Emirate of Ras Al Khaimah. Today, Ras Al Khaimah Tourism Development Authority, they are playing a vital role in the development. They have an aggressive plan to reach 3 million visitors in the coming few years. And when we look at the concept, Ras Al Khaimah has a lot of offering. What offer that we can create to add to the market? And the concept was having an integrated resort. Having an integrated resort will add value not just only to the destination, but also to the economy, to the experience. I mean, to be associated with the best guest experience in the Emirate of Ras Al Khaimah. Getting that, I have to say we were looking at the brands that we should be associated with. And we ended up that we should be associated with the best. And with the best brand, I have to say, it is Wynn. I remember me and Alison working on this and doing a lot of research about what our customers are looking for. And one of the things that our customers are looking for is the values of the experience, the values that we have seen in Wynn, really. We haven't seen it in any other brand. And that's where we moved into integrated resorts.
Very good. And Alison, from your side?
Yeah, I think just touching on what Abdullah said, I mean, Ras Al Khaimah has always been a very progressive emirate, and we saw this as the next natural evolution of what to bring Ras Al Khaimah to give our tourists, our guests, our visitors, that one-of-a-kind experience. So we're always looking for what is next, how can we evolve, how are we going to keep bringing in new sources of demographics, how can we keep bringing our guests and our tourists back into the destination. And I think this integrated resort is really going to be the start of an era in a full economic development of Ras Al Khaimah, underpinned by tourism and delivering those one-of-a-kind experiences that Wynn are known for.
Very good. And Chris, thanks for that presentation. How did Wynn decide on coming to RAC for your first development, really?
Sure,
in the region?
Great question. First of all, we only do these every once in a while. We've been around a long time. We only have 6 resorts. And the reason is we just go through a painstaking process of looking for the right market, looking for the right place, understanding how we might fit in. We also spend a ridiculous amount of money. These are multi-billion-dollar, very large-scale resorts, and so you want to make sure you're on target. So that's the perspective we come from. Why did we pick Ras Al Khaimah? First of all, we think this is a geographic location for us that works very well. It's not an area that we're in now. We're busy in other parts of the world, and this is a region that we really want to make sure is an area that we can do well in. We also love the site. We think that Marjan Island is spectacular. I mean, Island 3, where we're going to be, is a blank sheet of paper. I mean, it's just a fantastic platform to build on, and we think that the whole Ras Al Khaimah area, and certainly Marjan, is a great place for us. Third is we look very carefully at who our partners are going to be, and between RAK Hospitality and Marjan, I mean, it couldn't be a better partnership. I mean, we don't do very well when they're just sort of on paper partnerships and we kind of, you know, everybody puts in some money and we hope it goes well. We just don't do that. It has to be a partner that we can get along with, somebody that has the same values, the same interests. And I would say, and I don't mean this in a corny way, we have found that partner. I mean, every discussion, every meeting has been fantastic. So those are the reasons that we identified this as a great place to be.
Okay, very good. I think our focus today is obviously talk about the economic benefits of the integrated resorts. You know, from the wider, what wider infrastructure is needed to make sure this resort is just successful? Obviously, we know from you've a brilliant track record of developing hotels. This will be much larger. We're looking at over 1,000 keys potentially. It's not just going to be the bricks and mortar of the hotel or the boundaries of the hotel. Significant infrastructure will have to be developed in Ras Al Khaimah to support the resort. So, Abdullah, have you thought about that?
Definitely. I mean, the integrated resort will have a lot of impact, not just only on the destination, but on the whole emirate of Ras Al Khaimah. Simply, we need more schools, we need more hospitals, we need more staff accommodations, we need a lot of residential developments. We need to improve the infrastructure, connectivity, public realm. So it's a bigger picture for the whole destination, not just only the Al Marjan Island or the integrated resort. That's where right now, at the Emirate level, we are looking at the wider impact and what is the gap in the market right now that we need to fill in terms of all these infrastructure layers. We need to ensure when we open in 2026 that all these gaps has been filled before we open the integrated resort.
Yeah, Chris, you touched upon it there. One of your resorts or some of your resorts have 5,000 to 6,000 employees. I mean, that's an unbelievable number. I know you're working out the maths on your upcoming project at the moment, but let's say if we had those types of numbers, those types of employees, can you give us any examples of maybe around the world where you've developed resorts and the type of infrastructure maybe that had to be put in place?
Sure. I mean, there's a lot of different kinds of infrastructure, but one thing that we're not afraid of is sort of city building. So we look at infrastructure in the literal sense. So around our resorts, we look hard at transportation. We look at things like security. We look at things like all the visual aesthetics around it, and we want to make sure that we're part of any solutions. I mean, and again, transportation's a big part of that. We have bus fleets, boat fleets. We've worked on public transportation, all sorts of different solutions to make sure people get there, which is critical. As far as the infrastructure for the employees, as you know, we've built actual training facilities with universities where the employees come in, they can train, they can learn, they can build their career. We've done a lot with, facilities to support them long-term financially. We've also had situations where we've had housing. For example, in RAK, there'll be a housing solution for the employees to make sure they have a great place to live. Because it's an old saying, but we feel that, happy employees make happy customers. And you want the employee who can get to work easily, who is wearing a nice, clean uniform, had a good meal. I mean, one of the things we do in our facilities, we provide free, very high-end food to all the employees. We have dining rooms back of house where all the employees go every day and eat, and it makes a difference. So an employee has stayed in a nice place to live. They've been transported to the facility, and it's a comfortable transportation. They get a good meal, clean uniform, great place to work, and the response to that is superb.
Okay, thank you, Chris. Alison, from your side, obviously, I know Abdullah mentioned yourself and himself have done a lot of research to make this happen, along with the rest of your teams in RAK. Look, what wider benefits are you expecting for RAK once the resort opens?
I think if you consider, what Chris has just spoken about, the number of employees that we will have coming, to work in the destination, we're hugely focused on that, as I know Wynn are, in terms of making sure that we are really doing everything that we can for the employees. We are developing campuses, but we don't just want people to come and live in the staff accommodation campuses. We want their families to come and live here. We want them to become part of the RAK ecosystem, which goes back to developing the real estate, developing the schools, the hospitals, the airport. I think it just drives the whole destination up that one extra level, and it may seem early to start planning all that. It's really not. We're having discussions day in, day out with all of our partners across the whole of Ras Al Khaimah about how we make sure that we're not missing one opportunity, whether that's bringing suppliers in to come and set up and base in Ras Al Khaimah, whether it's looking at what additional real estate we need for employees coming in, and also for all of the contractors that the development is going to need. How are we providing accommodation and facilities for those?
Okay, very good. Abdullah, obviously you're on the ground there, Marjan. There's been phenomenal press and phenomenal goodwill since the project has been announced. On the ground, do you have any examples so far? Have you got? I know that you're obviously working with developers, maybe partnerships, selling plots. Have you seen an uptick in terms of interest in developers coming to Marjan, investors, even residential prices? Have you seen any bit of a push-up since the big announcement?
I think the big announcement has changed the perception toward the Emirate of Ras Al Khaimah, where we see a lot of investors, developers, institutional funds, listed companies start to look at the opportunities in the Emirate of Ras Al Khaimah, not just only from a hospitality perspective, but also from a residential perspective. We have seen appreciation on land prices, for example, 30%. We have seen appreciation on residential units, almost 40%. So that big number, that's what we have seen. And the amount of inquiries we are receiving right now for new development explain that people are really looking at the Emirate of Ras Al Khaimah in a different way rather before the announcement.
Okay. Thank you. Alison, a question for yourself. Just for maybe people in the room who aren't familiar with Ras Al Khaimah and its development, what type of source markets are you attracting in hotels there at the moment? And how could that potentially change with the introduction of the Wynn resort?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question, James, and it's one that, together with Wynn, we've been looking at and considering throughout the whole feasibility is, what are the source markets that we see coming in? And we segment them into three. That is, our traditional core markets that we already have in Ras Al Khaimah that are staying in our hotels today. We have all of our UAE residents, our expats that we would like to see, obviously, visiting the resort. And then I think there's a whole raft of uncharted opportunities that we can look at in new source markets that we see some development of at the moment, but I think this is the opportunity to really take it to the next level, be that South America, be it Africa. All of these really help and complement the markets that we see as the obvious markets you would see coming into an integrated resort. India, CIS, China, we're 4 hours flight from a population of 4 billion. It's a huge marketplace to play in.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of discussion over the number of years for the UAE to attract more, Indian visitors. There was a lot of change in terms of visa, Chinese guests as well. I think, Abdullah, you've been on a recent trip, I believe, to India, if I'm not mistaken. How did you get on that trip, and do you think that's a market you can push to attract to visit the integrated resort?
Yes, definitely. I mean, looking at this not just only from visiting as well, but also investment. I just came from Mumbai 3 days ago, and I have to say, after the announcement, the second nationality who have invested heavily in Al Marjan Island after the Emirati nationality is the Indian nationalities. They are well aware about the market. They are so connected to the UAE. They understand the opportunity. And I have to say, they believe that a lot of opportunities will come out from India, and a lot of visitors to the integrated resorts that we are developing right now, they will be coming from India. So they want to cater to that segment that they want to develop, as well as to provide another experience for those who will not be able to stay in the Wynn, but they want to stay closer to Wynn.
Okay, so there's a potentially good uplift as well for the surrounding hotels, hopefully, in terms of rates and occupancy. Lead the change is the theme of this year's conference. Maybe, Chris, you touched upon it briefly in your presentation. What are the sustainable and innovative development principles being adopted? I know you're in planning stage at the moment.
Yeah.
for the scheme in Ras Al Khaimah?
A lot of them revolve around energy. I mean, we're still in the early design stages, so I don't have all the final answers, but I can tell you some of the track record that we're doing elsewhere. I mean, we're able to use green power, you know, everywhere. We're able to use much more efficient buildings. We're doing cogeneration. We're doing, you know, all sorts of different heating and cooling systems. Here it'll be primarily cooling. So I would say significant method around energy is a big part of it. We've also done a huge amount of things with things like food waste and water resources and that sort of thing. So very happy about that. A lot of it comes down to how the building's built. I mean, these will be, you know, certainly environmentally certified, LEED certified buildings, you know, working with some of the ISO standards as well. So that, and, you know, and there's obviously local sustainability requirements here that we'll be meeting as well. So yeah, there'll be a lot of effort put into how the building is built and how the building is operated to make sure it's cutting edge. And it's not just sustainability, by the way. I mean, as I said earlier, as a company, we try to be progressive in everything. You know, if you let things get stale, then you're going backwards. So we spend a lot of time thinking about entertainment. We spend a lot of time thinking about food, menus, you know, a lot of time about technology in the rooms. So, you know, we would like to think that we're going to try to be one of the more progressive resorts in the world.
And Alison, from your side, from a local perspective, given your experience in the market and the strides Ras Al Khaimah is doing to position yourselves as a sustainable destination?
Absolutely. I mean, Ras Al Khaimah is looking to position itself as a sustainable destination by 2025. So, you know, everything that Chris has just talked about massively complements with what we're trying to achieve, be it from the construction side, the operations side, and to the staff living as well. So, you know, we're looking at whether it is, you know, refillable water bottles, whether it is the actual construction materials, whether it is transporting staff in electric vehicles, all of these things are really being considered as of now to make sure that we have the best solutions come the opening date.
Okay, very good. Abdullah, maybe a final question for yourself, and try and put Chris under a bit of pressure with this one. What are the development timelines and where are things at present in terms of your design?
This is really a tight question. Huh? Look, I think we are on a track. We are doing our best to finalize the design within the next few weeks. So the master plan going to be announced soon. Hopefully, we start construction by next year and to be finished by end of 2026.
Okay, you heard it here. You heard it here. 2026.
End of 2020.
Let me just add. Let me add one thing to that too. People have to realize what a pleasure it is doing business in RAC. You know, from the regulation side, on the gaming, from the building side. I mean, we do this all over the world, and it's seldom you find a place that's working with you this much. Yeah. So the reason we can meet an aggressive timeline like that is everybody's trying to do it together. So it's the regulatory environment is impressive.
Yeah, very good. Listen, I think that's time from us. That brings our panel to a close. I'd like to thank all our panelists, Alison, Abdullah and Chris. If you give them a round of applause, I'd be grateful. Thanks to you, the audience, for your time and attention. I wish everyone a pleasant remaining conference. We'll see you at the RAC Wynn Resort for the grand opening in late 2026. Take care.